Hello? Sound working? All right. I think we are good. Okay, I think I hit the button a little early. That's no problem. We can wait around till some more people get in here. It's always good to wait a few minutes anyways. We got people come in late. But that's okay. Gives me to make sure the chance the equipment's working and everything. Because I still don't fully know what I'm doing with it. Hey, Jacob. Man, you must have got in here early. If you're still in here. Dang. Yeah, that's right. It's all right. Wait, okay. Go ahead and mute my phone. Okay, so who all's in here tonight? Hey, spaced out. For some reason, it never shows me who's here. It just shows me roughly a count of who might be lurking. So it's always hard for me to guess. Well, mine's only saying, oh, okay, mine's up, jumping now. Mine only said 3 for a second. Hey, Mortimer, man, you made it. It has been a crazy week on this end. Hello, Judas. Good to see you. Judas Adorus. I actually like that name. Peachy, you made it. How are you late? We just started. I think we're like 3 minutes in. We're still in the just starting up phase here. We're not really kicked off anything. I will go ahead and warn you, the jets are flying tonight. I do not think this microphone's been picking up jets. So hopefully you all won't hear them. Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Space Down. I don't think I'd seen you in here before, and I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to recognize people who's popping in a lot. So this is your first time. Definitely welcome. It's great to have you. It's pretty laid back. I'm just going to go over some of the research and stuff I've been doing over the week and what I've been got going on. Kind of give a behind the scenes of what it's like for me. And from there, I take questions. We just have a good conversation. I think last week we ran like 3 hours and 30 minutes before we ran out of things to talk about. I didn't realize it. It felt like less than an hour when I logged off, and then the timer told me differently. Hello, Spirit Messiah. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Peachy. Yeah, yin and yang, they love to tinker with my microphones. Actually, we were doing a lot of recording for the Dragon Magic 101 class this week. And thanks to them, we had to completely reshoot a whole section. A whole section. Actually, Mortimer, that's a great question. That's actually something I'm real happy to talk about this week. So, as you all know, that ritual's been really kicking my ass, and it's broke up into different parts. The first part, which the dragons have said is the easier part, requires 9 full evocations, one for each of the 9 draconic elemental rulers, to full evocation and to be maintained. This week, I officially got to where I can get all 9 of them evoked and maintained for a period. So now I'm actually beginning to work on that next step, which, lo and behold, that next step is part of pulling in energy, expanding your consciousness in both realms. And then there's another evocation on the other end of that for a dragon that's referred to as Dex Arexu. And he's kind of the go-between between the unknowables and the 9 rulers. So that's currently the spot I'm at. However, the first portion of the ritual I have officially got a handle on. No, they don't. They have a sense of humor, that's for sure. But from my understanding of what's at the end of this ritual, it's kind of hard not to expect the ritual itself to be somewhat complicated. So, although if there is an easier method to achieve it, I wish they'd let me know. But so far, I've gotten no cheats or anything. So. But it is nice to be able to push myself to the limits and test my limits again, which is really nice. But speaking of cheats, though, while recording the Dragon Magic course this week, they actually gave me a guided meditation to put into the course that if you do the guided meditation, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You will have a guardian dragon. They've completely cut the guesswork in. Where was that when I was a student? I remember spending over a month trying to get a contact with my guardian dragons. And now they're like, well, we know you already filmed all this information, but we're wanting to scrap that, change over to this, and it's a guarantee. So that was both exciting because it's something I get to offer up and give. And I've had it. We had several people walk through and test it this week. No one has had anything bad to say about it. I even tested it myself. So we're real excited about that. But then there's the part of me that did all that work when I first started out. And I'm looking back like, I could have used this. I could have really used this. something you weren't ready. Well, you're not overly too far off because now mind you, it was Ingwas Salor, which I was talking to when I asked the question, which is the ruler of the fire dragons. And he's a sassy little booger when it comes to me. We get along great, but he is sassy. And his entire reasoning and response was, you were working from Conway. Conway didn't publish it. We didn't give it to her. We're giving it to you. You publish it. So it's kind of like, shut up. But at the same time, it's a compliment because, hey, we're giving it to you to put out there. Yeah. Thus is the life of magic. You often make breakthroughs the hard way, and then those who walk behind you, the path is somewhat easier, which is ultimately how society grows, I like to believe. Spaced out. I was told that there were books on dragon magic when I was working at a freight facility for UPS, and we later found out that the person doesn't exist. If you actually look at the security footage, there I am. I'm talking to nothing, and there's people walking around the nothing. So whoever it was that told me all this, the cameras didn't see him. And when I did go to look for the books that they mentioned, I found the exact book titles by the author. So I'm a dense person. I have trouble taking a hint. If I could ever get my wife on one of these live streams, you can ask her. I am dense. She gave me hints about a necklace for like 4 months one time. Never knew she wanted the necklace. Never. And she still won't let me live it down. But in that case, I took the hint. No, it might be a song lyric, but there is wisdom in the words. Suffer for the cure. And honestly, I probably wouldn't be a good person to have an easy way to get in a guardian dragon. I probably would have been more skeptical. I don't know. It's just in my nature. Mathis, I've actually wondered that. And talking from magicians, the best I can figure is most of your authors, they lean toward religious writings like Wicca and stuff, or ceremonial writings. And since both groups are really very steeped in tradition and not so much research and exploration, they don't deviate from their current diagram much at all. In fact, I know a lot of magicians who turn their nose up at the ideal of dragon magic, but they can't figure out how I manifest results at the same time. So I think right now, a lot of it is that traditionalism that people's just locked into mentally, and the fact that honestly, most of the authors who write about it come off very love and light fluff. So most of your magicians who are willing to experiment and step outside the norm, it's too fluffy for them, and they just don't give it the time of day. I can't prove that. It's just those seem to be the trends I've noticed. Then again, I know at least one person in Louisiana who thinks the reason there's not info out there is because I've been too lazy and haven't published or put information out, and I should have done so sooner. She actually said that to me. So she blames it all on me, Mathis. Ooh, Space Down, that's a tricky one. Favorite or most informational? How'd you guess, Peachy? How did you guess? Yes, it was her. Let's see. See, that's hard because when it comes to dragon magic directly, I tend to recommend mystical dragon magic or I actually do not recommend Dancing with Dragons. It's all convoluted, and her books afterward really confuse it. And her new one, which is this Dragon Magic, it's kind of a simplified, condensed version of what Dancing with Dragons should have been. That said, she really does not go deep into dragon magic, and it's really more Wicca with certain things replaced with dragons. So this is like where dragon magic really, really got its start. So in my opinion, these are currently the best ones out there. But as most people, and probably many people in this channel will tell you, you're not going to find much in these books either if you're not interested in Wicca style. Because I'll be honest, I actually don't grab these books off my shelf anymore at all. What the dragons have taught me and the framework that I'm putting out there completely deviates from what Conway taught. And it's interesting because she actually talks about the 9 different rulers in here, but at no point through all 3 books does she ever work past 4. So the 4 rulers that you will meet in the Dragon Magic 101 class, that's as far as she goes. That's it. She stops there. So there's 5 draconic rulers that if you worked through her entire book system, including the Pathworking and Mystical Dragon Magic, you'll never work with them. And that is a long Pathworking. Peachy, your first name's Raven? Oh, that's too freaky. Now, the way we've got it set up right now, just so y'all know, the 101 class, we lay out the foundation principles of what you're going to need to practice. We get you in touch with your guardian dragon. We actually have a week-long pathworking for you to actually bond and get to know that dragon. We lay it out in detail, so no more guesswork, because I get a lot of questions on that. And then we can get you in touch with your co-magician dragon, and we help you build that bond and relationship with them. Again, another week-long pathworking. And then we have you spending 1 week working with each of the first 4 rulers and getting to build that relationship with them and that foundation. So by the time you get through that 101 course, you'll more than have replaced this book already. So the first course should take you, if you work through it nonstop without breaks, let's say a month and a half. And then the 102, we're going to really dive deeper into those, not just the rulers, but we're actually going to teach you how to make contact with other dragons in those elements, entire path workings with other dragons in those elements. Hello, Lakeisha. And we're actually going to be teaching some evocation throughout the entire course. So, because evocation is a part of dragon magic, so we're going to build you up piece by piece through the courses. That way we don't have to push you over to just an evocation class also. So we're cramming a lot into these courses. Nosachi? Okay, my southern is going to butcher that name. I apologize, Nosachi. Thank you, Jacob. I do my best. Honestly, when I watch them, I look at them and be like, oh, that's horrid. But then again, I hate the sound of my own voice. Ugh. Well, I always said once I actually sat down and dug in to write the grimoire or however I published it, that I would put everything I could into it and hold nothing back. So doing the live video classes, it's allowed me, because I have trouble organizing my thought when I type and put it in words for a book. I always like quadruple guess myself. That's why it never got done. But when you purchase the course, you will have lifetime access to it. If I look back at the course and be like, wait, we should have totally put that in there, I can add it, and you don't have to buy a new course just because I updated it. You can go in and there's that piece. So this is actually allowing me to get the information out in a way that it works. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Let me come back to that, Mortimer, on Pathworking. Lakeisha, the classes, the first course I'm wanting to have live mid-April. If you actually look at my desk calendar, it says April 15th, but it's going to be in that vicinity, barring no delays, which I will say right now we are perfectly on schedule. And with that class taking a month and a half, let's say 2 months if you work casually to complete, the 102 class, I'll shoot for probably late July or mid-August. Yeah, or mid-August to have the 102 out. We are working on them all at the same time, but I don't want to release them all back to back at the same time because I've done that before and I had people rush through. And next thing I know, I'm getting emails about something at a later class that was something that should have been focused on and learned in an earlier class, and they skipped it. So we are going to stagger them out a little bit that way. Plus, part of the classes, we are teaching you how to make a dragon magic tool. So the 3 primary tools in dragon magic to choose from is usually a staff, a cane, and a wand. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into crafting those. So, like, if you wanted to craft one start to finish, it would take a year. But part of the classes is you do it as you move through the classes working with the rulers. So there's different stages of it. So ideally, as you work through, you'll complete it instead of having to sit down and do one massive working. But we go over all that in the class. And yes, that's my staff back there that you all have asked about plenty of times. In fact, Tuesday, we got a video coming out on the YouTube channel where we actually talk about the tools of dragon magic a bit, because that's been a big question we've been getting. Yeah, Space Down, if you choose your name, it can still hold a lot of power. I was not born Drake. I was not. But a mentor of mine, he started calling me that. He always wanted a son named Drake. He views me as a son. And honestly, I never connected with my birth name, so it just stuck. And if you holler my birth name at me, I won't answer. I almost got fired from a job one time because I wasn't answering, and I didn't know the guy was hollering at me. I really didn't. So yeah, your name and the name you connect with can actually still have power, and it can actually be sometimes stronger than your birth name. In fact, everyone who does any charts or anything for me, if they ever use my birth name, it don't come out right. So I'm a prime example of the fact a chosen name can be the correct name. Now, pathworkings. Mortimer, that's a great question. And honestly, I'm having trouble finding any good books on just pathworking, if that's what you meant. Because in general, pathworking, there's different styles of it. I know there's people who say to pathworking is strictly pathworking the tree of life. And then there's people who say pathworking is dedicating yourself to a specific working over an extended period. In my experience, both are true. And so as far as just a single book on what is pathworking, how to do it, I haven't found one. And that's an annoying thing to me, really, because a lot of people don't know what pathworking is and why it's so powerful and helpful in a person's practice. But it is a term so many people use, like myself. Now, books that do have pathworkings in them, obviously, Asimov Mason's books that I was working, that the one I worked through last year, and the one I started this year with until Lilith and Samuel derailed me and sent me to focus on the ritual I'm now working on. Those books are written as massive pathworkings for the Clifothic tree. And they are written very well, or I should say the meditation one was written very well because I completed it. The second one, at least to the part I made it to, was done very well. But those are draconian rituals, and they are very intense. Those are not everyone's cup of tea. And they're definitely not where I would start on a beginner level. What do I tend to do with tricky names? Apologize? Or just mess them up? Spaced out? You're Maddie? I know you. How about that, people? I know that one. Great to see you in here. Actually, no, you don't, Mortimer. In fact, when I first started studying magic, I made a point to stay away from anything related to dragons because it was too cliche, too D&D, too fantasy, just too silly. And I was attempting to study real magic. So I actually figured anything that would fall into that category would fall into the cliche, silly, stupid stuff. Which is probably why it took what it took to get me to pick up a book on it. And yeah, at the time being called Drake, yeah, I don't need, yeah, the irony's there. And the coincidence actually gets somewhat worse. Some of you may have heard this in the past, but the reason I usually just say my mentor and friend growing up is because he was from Japan. And when he moved here, he was made fun of because of his name. So when he turned 18, he changed the name to keep the same base meaning, but something that he wouldn't be made fun of in exactly the same way. So he went from being called Soo, S-O-O, to changing it to literally being Dragon. So his name was actually Dragon Valentine. Hence the son named Drake. Well, my email is available in the About section of the channel. Just click there and then go down. It basically tells you to click here and then tell it whether or not you're a robot. You can also message me on Twitter, Instagram, and I do have a business page for Working Dragon Mystic on Facebook. It allows you to message me there too. So, I mean, if you're just wanting to send me like a one-on-one message, I'm very easy to get a hold of. If you're wanting to do like a video chat or something, that's a little harder to schedule just because of how busy I am. But if you email me back and forth, we can see if a one-on-one's needed. But as long as it's a quick question or something, I usually don't charge consultation. GK Monkey, welcome. Yeah, I mean, I have a very scientific mindset. So me going into magic, it was a slippery slope. And honestly, it was a transition of religion that done it because I was looking for something new theologically. And I'd never actually lived life without religion per se. So I ended up looking into Wicca, and many of you know I tripped and fell into voodoo at one point. And it wasn't until later that I realized it wasn't the religion so much that I was interested in as just the science of magic. And yeah. So I'm not very religious at this point in my life, but at the same time, I'm thankful for religion. It got me where I'm at. Shoot me an email and I will look at my schedule, DJ, and see if we can set something up for a few questions. And we can either do it on Discord or I think Facebook chat has a thing. Yeah, Facebook has a thing. Jacob, the best way to start building up your energy at this point, go to the channel and look up the basic ritual of the flames. That Dragon's Flame ritual is a great place to get started because you're at the center point of all that draconic energy being pulled in, and spend time meditating with that energy. Every time you're breathing in, pull it into yourself, feel it cleansing you, empowering you, and breathe out. That is a great place to get started. No problem, DJ. Like I said, I can't promise that I can always be available because my schedule's pretty tight. I really, between my research, the recording of the classes, the YouTube channel, I'm a workaholic. No, G Monkey, it should be called Basic Dragon's Flame Ritual on the channel, I believe. You actually do that ritual and then you just meditate in the space that's set up. I think a few people here in the channels actually tried that ritual a time or two, so they can actually vouch that it's a pretty potent ritual. But it's a great place to get started and start building your energy up. DJ, when you do email me, tell me the best day and time. Give me a few options that it would be to set up a call, by the way. How do I balance work and magic? Like juggling chainsaws. Honestly. Now, I will say this. Where I do teach, I teach magic. It's what I do for for a living. So I'm actually very blessed in that concept. That said, I have to be careful because when you're going out and you're teaching magic, you're teaching meditation, you're teaching trance work, you're teaching grounding, you're teaching shielding, you're teaching evocation classes. By the time you get home, it's really hard to find the motivation to go in and do your own magical work. That's why I say it's like juggling chainsaws, because you've been talking magic all day long. You've been discussing it, the ins and outs, and answering questions. It's really hard to go in and get your focus on doing your own work at that point. And with the YouTube channel, again, that's adding something else to it. And I'm kind of hoping that I can start cutting back my one-on-one classes and stuff like that as the online school builds up. So I can make more time for other things. Because right now I'm scheduled from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. But it is tricky. It is very tricky. But one thing I can say that does help, if you look at my video, Living a Magical Life, I do actually try to apply magic to everything I do in some way. So that helps a little bit. And blessed with mead. Yes, I also make mead, which helps a lot. There's days when a bottle of mead really helps ground you out. Well, for one, I enjoy what I do. But I learned a long time ago, other people will have their opinions, other people have their viewpoints, and I get stressed when I ain't got nothing to do. You give me 2 weeks vacation, and usually the first week I'll do okay. After the first week, I start going stir crazy. I need something to do. At that point, I will be reading, researching, doing something. And a lot of my friends laugh at me because what I do to relax usually ends up being work. So if I actually take a day off, let's say I actually took tomorrow off, and I was like, I'm not editing, I'm not recording, I'm taking a day off, I'm taking me time. I would probably need a shock collar in order to stop me from picking up a book and reading something or researching something that would easily be categorized as work. I'm really that bad. But I think the biggest thing that helps me not stress is the fact that I really don't care what people think about me. I do my thing. And B, I do what I love. It don't pay well, but I enjoy it. DJ, yeah, I can. First off, the way YouTube is currently set up, avoid the concept of sub for sub. It don't work. It's absolutely pointless. It will crank up your subs, but it will not get you views and it will not get you video interaction, which is stuff that the algorithm and YouTube looks for. So it's better to go in slow and build it up naturally. That way the viewers and the subs you have are always putting in the view time, and they like watching your content. Beyond that, it's you got to find content that the viewers want. Like this channel, our year anniversary is coming up. March 27th, we'll actually have a live stream on that day with some good announcements too, by the way. And there was many times over this last year where I actually thought about quitting, because there would be weeks where I wouldn't get a single sub or views. And you can even go back to some of the first videos. The view counts on them are really low. But at some point, your audience will find you. There are people out there that are looking for information presented in a way. And from all the comments I get, 2 comments are my major ones that I get. One, they've been looking for someone who's willing to talk about dragon magic. I'm glad I can be that person. But beyond that, they like the way that I present the information in no frills. Just I try to simplify it, make it as understandable as possible, and I'm not holding anything back. I'm not a gatekeeper kind of guy. It's like, you want to know it, here it is, let's talk about it. And I really do strip the dogma out of it. So for the people who have been looking for that kind of information, those are the people who have gravitated toward my channel. And honestly, their comments and things, that's what's really kept me going. Honestly, this channel exists primarily because of you guys. Because, yeah, there's been plenty of times where I considered giving up, and then lo and behold, 3 or 4 of you guys are like, I can't believe I found your channel, I love it. And then I'm like, well, now I can't quit. Ani, that's a good question. And okay, now this is a unpopular answer, because a lot of people like to put trance work up here in this little mystical secret box. But trance work is essentially an extremely deep meditation state where the meditation drops so deep, you really lose that sense of connection to the physical, and your mental state has been completely pushed to the crossroads, or even to the astral plane or another plane. And this is why trance work and shamanism can be utilized to contact other worlds. And trance work is powerful. It's one of the key things used in dragon magic. A lot of people downplay Conway's works because it's like, it's just meditation. It's just meditation. But if you read the books with trance work in mind, you can see that when the dragons had her writing that, they were trying to get people to utilize trance work more. That is one of the few things I have to give credit on those books for. Because if it wasn't for Conway's books and the push to trance work, I wouldn't have got where I'm at. So it is an extremely deep meditation that goes beyond just your breathing. It's where you, and most people, once they hit that trance state, they'll say they have this sense of falling. It almost feels like they fall. And that usually snaps them out of the meditation, which of course snaps them out of trance. So that's one of the reasons deep meditation, crossing over to trance work, is hard for some people. But that's also why I put up the Astral Sanctum video, because if you do a meditation to build an Astral Sanctum, and your visualization is strong enough to build it and interact with the Astral Sanctum, you are in a trance state. Congratulations. You just tricked your body to bypass the falling sensation. I hope that makes sense. I get anxious about the dumbest things, Mortimer. I really do. Everybody thinks I'm a stone cold rock, and I guess I do appear that way. A few of my friends and maybe my wife knows me well enough to know that there's things I will pace back and forth and they just eat at me and can't sleep, but they're there. And yeah, so anxiety can be a bugger. But then part of magic is knowing yourself and mastering yourself too. So anxiety to me, anytime my anxiety rears its head, to me, that's just challenge accepted. This is something I need to work on. This is something I need to focus on. I need to find how to master it. That's how I've approached everything in my life, where fear, illness, anxiety, any of those things. A few demons I've worked with. Well, I have worked with all 72 of the Goetia. That'd be one easy way to sum it up, because me and Raven done some testing and pathworking in there. But by name, I have worked with Azazel. I've worked with Belial, Paimon. I've done several workings with Citri, Valfor. Samael. I know some people don't really view him as a demon, though I've heard him refer to himself as a demonic king, even though he's technically still an angel. I have worked with Lucifer, again, kind of in the same category as Samael. So yeah, those would be a few that I've worked with. There's more, I know, but those are a few. Actually, you know, Mortimer, I have been considering doing a video on pathworking. And let me run this by you, see what you all think about this, because where pathworking isn't so defined right now, what I was thinking about doing is actually setting up a video to show how I go about laying out my path workings with an entity that I would focus on and my process. So instead of actually saying, here's a path working, let's do it together, I was actually wanting to show the framework on how to lay out your own path working for your practice. So just as an example, let's say you wanted to work with Thor. You could take that entity, plug it into the path working, and actually outline your own path working. Or even if you wanted to path work with an energy pattern, you could still do the same thing. That's what I was kind of thinking. What do y'all think about that? Hey, David, good to see you made it. Actually, Mortimer, a lot of time anxiety is triggered by overcharge of energy. I've noticed that myself. Awesome. So cool. Awesome. I'm on a roll. Any demons that specifically enjoy working with dragons more than other spirits? See, that's actually interesting. I haven't found an entity that dragons won't work with, and I've not really found an entity that won't work with dragons. That said, I know Azazel has definitely enjoyed working with the dragons when I was doing my path working with him. Odin adores working with them. The big thing with Odin and dragons is especially when working in my astral sanctum with them, they will start talking and trading ideals, and it's hard to get them to stop because you got two entities that have so much knowledge and wisdom, and they're just. Well, you never gave me the page number that you said that was on, so I don't remember the exact reference. I remember you said you was having trouble buying into it or believing what was stated, and so what he's talking about there is he was reading. I want to say it was one of Conway's books where the Fae was mentioned, and he was having trouble believing or buying into some of the statements she was making. And knowing that I do focus more on the science of magic, he was wondering how I overcome that wall and that barrier. And I told him that the best way that I found to do it was to actually confront the entities that are being talked about themselves. Now, when it came to the fairy realm, my experience with fairies and Conway's experience with fairies, very, very different. Very, very different. But the fairy realm and dragons do tend to work together quite a bit. So inevitably over the years, I have had to work with fairies. And I've learned a lot about them firsthand, personal gnosis. And I will, to this day, I'll say, not everything that Conway said matches up. In fact, she talks about king and queen of the fairies, like, that's it. You got a king, you got a queen, you're done. Whereas I found out that fae are split very much light and dark. You have the light fae and you have the dark fae. And they each have their own royal courts. So you technically have two kings and two queens. And then the number of different fae that fall below that is just, I don't think anyone has ever categorized them all. It is crazy. You might as well just stick an infinite sign on that. But working with them directly, I actually did get a much better respect and understanding for the Fae than I've ever had from a book I picked up. Most books out there, or at least the ones I've found, they really do not paint the Fae as anything I'd want to work with. It looks like it's just all fluff and light and just nothing can possibly go wrong. Everything is perfect, which for me, that's a very unbalanced viewpoint. But yeah, personal gnosis is actually how I overcame that. And that's probably something that should be talked about more in magic, because so often people want a book to tell them A, B, C equals D. That's all they want. But we don't grow with that. In fact, if you go to an occult shop, almost every book on the shelf could really be picked up and placed into Magic 101. Even if they call it advanced, it's 90% of that book will probably be Occult 101. We're only just now starting to see books published that are truly advanced. Asimov Mason is a great author. She's starting to push those limits. And those authors, they are writing for people who they're already advanced. Yeah. Her map of the other worlds was, it don't work. Let's just put it that way. That map don't work. One of the first things once I started soul traveling and stuff, yeah, it don't work that way. Nothing on that map fit. The closest that fit was the fact that our world seems to, in most positions, have a center-like position. It's not true center, but it is center-like. Oh, Lord Mortimer. There's a specific reason I chose the names Light and Dark. Whoa, 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 whoa. What did me and the Linda do here, honey? Things get a little weird and crazy on Magical Coffee Hour. I'll give you that. Last couple, she sent me off in left field so bad. Yeah, see, I agree. The left-hand path, so many of those practitioners are stepping outside tradition to do research. And they have no problem saying this is their personal gnosis. And they also have no problem sharing their findings with colleagues to test them. Which is something I've done for years. So to see these practitioners coming public and doing that, to me, this is a real renaissance of magic, because now it's not just cookie cutters, redone, hashed, reworded, the same. We're actually seeing whole new research and ground made. Yes, to avoid the jokes, Mortimer. And that's not to put down the right-hand path. In fact, I would actually like to see more right-handed path practitioners doing that. But I'll be honest with you, I can't think of one right now doing it. But I would really like to see more doing it, because that personal gnosis, that is a valuable thing. And what we're talking about when we say personal gnosis, for those who may not know, it's something you went directly to, you tested it, you tried it, you've gained working personal results and experience with. So you're not just taking it on faith, you're not just taking someone's word for it. You have witnessed it, experienced it in some way. Yeah, I actually did click that link you sent me, David, and I have watched a few of his videos. And I've actually got a bunch of them on my to watch later list, which is growing. It's well over 600 videos now on that list. Holy. But again, you have to have free time to do things. But I actually have enjoyed a few of his videos. I found he was really well spoken. Actually, it was because of these the live streams that I found him. Someone asked me a question in one of these live streams about chakra removal. And I gave the answer as best I could from my experience, and I looked into some more research, and his is one of the things that popped up. And yeah, so I was happy with the answer I gave, and some of his ideals and thoughts and really vibed with me, I have to say. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to looking into more of his stuff. I actually probably will end up trying to get a hold of his book. Right now, as y'all know, everything for this channel and all the projects and everything are coming out of my pocket. So we just started a major project dealing with the 9 elemental rulers. There's sort of a hole in Dragon Magic that no one's ever approached or tried to do. So me and another person are actually working with the 9 rulers to produce something. And hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll see the first result of that. But I am having to pay the other person. So my ability to buy research materials is going to be slowed down a bit because I have to pay that person. Well, that's kind of where I don't know where I walk. Gray's probably about the best because I'll jump either side of the fence if it gets me with the results I need or the information. Well, that's a good question. And the main reason is I have a really hard time organizing my thoughts in book format. I always triple guess myself, and I can never get the chapter to flow the way I want it to. And I despise overly wordy books. So when I write, I condense the information down to necessity. So my books end up really short, like almost like a automotive manual. Everything you need's there, but there's like no entertainment value. And that's always been an issue. And every editor that's looked at them, we end up arguing flat out because they're like, you need to beef it up. You need more pages. You need more words. You got the information. You got the structure. You got the meat. But now we need to bulk it. And I can't bulk. With that said, though, I am considering, once I finish with the Dragon Magic, the 4 Dragon Magic courses, I'm actually considering publishing a grimoire focused on all the dragons that will be in that course in detail. Because throughout the 4 courses, you're going to be introduced to over 45 different dragons, how they can help you in your life, their sigils, and those kinds of things. So once we get that all done, I'm actually wanting to take the sigils and put them into a book with an in-depth description and ways to work with that dragon. So it would be literally a grimoire of dragons, sigils, and details on these specific dragons and how to work with them. That's something I wouldn't have to worry about organizing thoughts with. So that's one thing we're thinking about. And we are also considering doing an entire book dedicated to all the rulers and actually diving into the rulers and the dragons that work under them and with them, and very detailed path workings on how you can really connect to that ruler and take that relationship further than before, if you want. Because I know some people, they have dragons they prefer over others. Like Peachy, I have a feeling Peachy might be interested in if I did a path working focused on the water ruler. Yeah, I've also considered doing like, instead of full books, more like little mini books focused on one topic. So let's use evocation, for example. Lay out the beginning structures of evocation and a few exercises and practices, and just put it into a book that is literally meant to be a small 100-page or less book of information on how to start practicing evocation if you've never done it. So I've considered things like that as well. And if I did that, it will definitely be a digital product. See, I know Peachy would like that. I got your number, Peachy. Core Allegra, though, is a hoot to work with. I have to admit, I love working with Core Allegra. So, and actually, all the water dragons I've worked with have been a lot of fun. Although this new project I've undertook, I will admit it's a little interesting because this is the first time where I've worked with an outside person who is also working with a specific entity to make the project happen. So right now we're working with Terrafauna. So the first ruler we're working with as in this project is the Earth Dragon. And so I'm going between the Draconic ruler and this person. And, you know, it's like, does this work for you? Okay, can you do this? Does this work for you? It's been an interesting experience. Mortimer, I don't know. Here's the thing. So the school's built on teachables. So I can easily load a text document, digital book onto teachables, and it's there. It's available. I can control everything with it. And I don't have to worry about anyone else screwing around with it. I have total control. Downside, complete digital. Complete. On the other side, I could look into like Amazon, because I know if you do an ebook on Amazon, they do have an option for a physical copy, and it just, Amazon's a little, their pricing and percentages differ. So I'm looking into the differentials on that, because I want to be able to make this stuff available to you all, and I want to make it available in a cost efficient way. I don't want to charge you like those people charging $60, $80 a book. I have issues with that. Not everybody can afford $80 books. Oh, but speaking of which, I do want to show y'all something. Y'all remember I said we got those stickers on order, but I hadn't got the samples. We got the samples in yesterday. There's the artistic dragon's eye. That's about a 5-inch sticker. And there's the plain dragon's eye seal on the black background. Which these are great for journals. If I didn't already have stickers all over my date book, this would be going on there. So yeah, those are actually available at the shop where the coffee cups are. These are already available. And honestly, the camera's not doing them justice. They look freaking fantastic. So if you're like me and you can't draw a stick man, this is a great way to add the dragon's eye seal to your journal or your grimoire. Because I can't draw a stick man. Well, I'd be lying if I said we have not considered doing a sign up for like a video class. And we've discussed whether we want to do it one-on-one, whether we want to do like a video class via Discord, where students can ask me questions, and I'm there. I'm able to talk, very similar to how the live streams are. It would just be private. So it'd be much like some of my group classes that I've done in the past. it'd be digital, so I can reach more students in multiple locations. Yes, Amazon also has contracts. That's other things we're looking at. It would look awesome on your guitar. As far as I do not know if they're waterproof, weatherproof, or anything like that. So for your car, apply at your own risk. Mortimer, Digital Tech hates me too. You're preaching to the choir there. If an iPhone is in my possession for more than 30 minutes, it won't work. It will not work. That's why it's kind of amazing to me that these live streams have gone off as well as they have. And that's why if you catch at the beginning of these streams, I'm always like, is the sound working? Is it working? Because even though this is what, episode 8, I think? I'm still paranoid everything's going to go wrong. But I do get the physical copy. I know why people love them, and I'm looking at it. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Like I said, it's a balancing act, and right now everything's coming out of my pocket. I'm really blessed that my wife is allowing me to take on this project with nothing coming in. Because you got to understand, I have to run the school and the YouTube channel, the online versions, with the budget we had before I started. No, we've been looking at Patreon, and one of the things I was thinking about doing, like let's say a $5 Patreon, everyone who signs up for Patreon would automatically get first priority on questions and emails and stuff like that. Because we are getting so flooded with questions and emails, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love helping people. I love answering questions. Many of you in the chat tonight, you've messaged me, and I've done my best to get back with you quickly. But that would probably be something that we would apply to tier 1 and obviously the further tiers up as well. I'm just trying to figure out what those other 2 tiers are. One thing that I want to do personally is I want to do a ritual where blessings and boons and stuff like that, anyone who participates in that level will automatically be included in that ritual. So you're supporting the channel, and for your support, you get me doing actual beneficial magical work for you. So, but yeah, we are looking at doing a 5, 10, and 15 Patreon startup. Yeah, I had that same problem, Mortimer. My wife started buying me, I don't know if I can't get it up here, but it's more like a cord covered in, it's like a fabric braided cord covered in, I don't know, it's got some covering on the actual braided cord. And she told me to try and tear it up. So far, I haven't. That's the good thing about me being married to someone who does love technology. She can try and find ways to work past the fact that I'm a caveman in a digital age. But I mean, what do y'all think of those ideas for Patreon? Just because I'm new at this stuff. And whatever money comes in through Patreon, I will say, if we start one, we'll go straight to the channel and the business strictly. It all goes straight back in. Oh, I will say this. Um, crap. See, these are the brain farts I get to edit out of the videos. Crap, I completely forgot what I was saying. All right, thank you. I got everything muted and turned off right now, David, so I won't get it till after the stream. I have to because inevitably I hit live. It's like everybody and my grandmother starts spamming me. And it's not like I go live randomly. It's like people you know I'm going to be live at this time. So yeah. So, you know, those are some ideals that we're hoping to get started and get those up and running. Seems like there was something else I was wanting to tell y'all. Oh, now I remember. We are actually sitting at, I think it was 820 subs before we got onto the live stream tonight. So we are officially in the push for 1,000 marker. So if you have any friends or anybody who you think would be interested in this channel, share the videos everywhere you can. We are trying to make that push. Now, the way YouTube does it, 1,000 subs does not mean that they start monetizing. There's a whole giant process, including view time that's required. But I am hoping that we can reach that point soon because, again, if we can get the channel monetized, I'm pretty sure the ad revenue would be next to nil, but that is, again, money we can put back into the channel. So, by all means, if you have anybody you can share the videos with and stuff, please do. Because we are officially making that push. I appreciate it, David. I really do. You all have been great in supporting this channel and very understanding of the fact that I'm not very tech savvy. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying them, Lee, DJ. And yeah, there are dragons playing around in this room when I'm filming quite a bit. Hopefully you find them more entertaining and less annoying. Yeah, that will definitely put view time up. I mean, anytime viewers are watching, it should. I'm not 100% sure, but it should help. Yeah, definitely. I actually had one person tell me she enjoys putting my videos on play because she finds my voice relaxing, and I've helped with her anxiety. Most people call me an asshole. She finds I'm relaxing. So, hey, yay. Well, Yin and Yang will be happy to hear you find them entertaining. Because more than likely, they're the two you're hearing. The smaller one, he's usually quieter. Ironically, the largest, my co-magician, he makes like no noise at all. No, you're not. I get messages of people who can hear them, people who swear they've seen them. The funniest one, the message I got is someone actually said they swore they saw both of their heads poke up over my shoulders in the video and basically go at the camera. And I went back to look at the video because when I'm editing, I'm really just focused on what's on screen with me and the audio. So I'm not looking at it metaphysically or anything. But damned it if they weren't there. And there's no way to edit it out unless I completely take the video down and redo it. So I just got to live with it. Oh, you all's going to encourage them. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But no, it's been interesting because that's one of the reasons I did do the background, because usually it's like during the live streams on Magical Coffee Hour or during this, it's usually the wider walls that allow things to be picked up easier. So the deep red background kind of tones down their mischief. Or, well, at least hides it. It don't tone it down. They're still mischievous. I know, right? Don't mess up the stream. Martial laws. Well, where I'm at, that's not really been a major issue. I mean, if you're talking about, like, the coronavirus and stuff, it's more just school closings and business closings. I do try to steer clear of politics around here. I won't lie about that. But, I mean, martial law in general, my opinion is leave me alone. Let me do what I do if I ain't hurting somebody. That's my general opinion. And so far, it's been pretty good. But I will say, there are people that have been getting a little out of control, overreactive. Yeah, that is something that's been happening in places around the world quite a bit, and it's kind of sad to see. And as someone who tries to focus more on balance, I won't lie, I'm still forming my thoughts on it. Because I grew up in the South, and there was a group in the South that needed their ass kicked. And people rose up and they kicked their ass. And state and city pretty much helped with that. But no matter what, there's always going to be a fine line there. Because what's normal for the spider will always be chaos for the fly. And that's where that balance becomes an issue. You have to examine it, and you really have to look at it and break it down and consider a lot of factors. It's never black and white. So, yeah. Without going too far off, I think that might be more than we can cover. I can say, I think a lot of what's going on in the world does have has been triggered somewhat energetically, but saying what energetically has triggered it, I don't know. There's too many energy patterns that motion to say that one. It's a combination of things energetically. And I've heard some pretty wild theories from other magicians. Like a full-on purge. No, the dragons have not necessarily told me anything about that. I do know a few entities who have spoke of similar events in the past. I mean, well, hell, they even show up in history, like the biblical flood. But at this point in time, I'm not been made aware of anything like that coming around the corner. So, and I don't want to say that one's coming or that I even think one's coming because I don't want to add to the panic. I don't think the hole we're in's that deep just yet. But that said, if the hole got that deep, it would be the job of the Chaos Dragons to take part and balance that energy out in some manner. Because that's really their bag, is destruction and creation for growth and balance. That's their whole gig. That's their shtick. That's what they do. That's why they're so hard to work with and it's why it's not recommended, because they don't care about your comfort. They care about your growth, your movement, and your progression. And they will kick your ass to help you do that. Correct, Mortimer. I can honestly say I've never seen panic actually helpful. Growing up, I've been in a lot of situations where there's been plenty of cause for panic, and never once was it helpful. That's one of the reasons I'm very much a stay calm, use logic person. I've seen panic cause a lot of harm. Oh, that's a good one. Jacob, reincarnation's an interesting one. Because this was always one that I had issues with. Because, again, that whole science of magic process. So the question that tripped me up was this. If reincarnation's a thing, how can I work with a ghost? Because if you die and you're not a ghost and you reincarnate, there's no ghost. But my magical practice had showed me there are way too many ghosts for that basic simplicity of reincarnation to work. But at the same time, I've worked with entities such as Baron Samedi, Hell, Odin, Hades, that they have spoke about reincarnation, but they've also spoke about the dead, and I've also spoke with dragons, lots of dragons who talk about these processes. So how do these two things exist at the same time? And I found out the soul, as we know it, is only a small portion. So this is what I was taught. The soul is far too large, far too massive to be contained within a physical vessel. So every lifetime we reincarnate is actually just one piece of that massive soul. And every lifetime there's lessons in progress made. And every lifetime, that soul takes on a persona, a personality of its own. This is why it's actually possible to evoke a past version of yourself. Because, yes, you reincarnated, but that version also still died, and it's still able to be accessed because that piece of the soul isn't the current incarnation. However, it is also possible to work toward what most magicians these days call ascension, where you actually move yourself out of that reincarnation cycle and you would actually take total possession of your full soul and move into a higher realm as a higher entity. Most people would refer to this as becoming your God self. Yeah, David, you're absolutely right. And that's one place where also I was getting tripped up. I can't, anytime I've went to pagan prides or any of those type of events, it's pretty easy to find about 50 reincarnated Merlins. It really is. And that's one of the reasons I don't talk about reincarnation as much, is because everyone wants to use it as a put a feather in my hat kind of thing. This is why you should listen to me. And yeah, no, I agree with you there. There's so many people that they have been really, really pissed with me when they wanted a past life reading. I done it, and they found out they were a poor farmer who raised pigs and shoveled shit. They didn't like it, even though that's a good job, that's a good life, and they raised a family, and there's nothing wrong with it. But since it doesn't fit their modern status quo, they didn't like it. Pretty much. And it's sad. It really is. But I've also said before, and this is something that I get a lot of flack for. A lot of practitioners look back way too much. Way, way too much. And they get lost in what was. And so much so that they do nothing about what is. They forget entirely to live in the present. And that is a very dangerous hole to fall into. And I've seen it just swallow people's entire lives, and they're miserable because they're always looking back at what was and what they had or what they did. And depending on how many reincarnations you come from, you can really cherry pick that information. But they do nothing about now. And we really should focus on now and where we're going. So unless there's something that is to be learned or fixed, I avoid going back. I avoid looking back. Magical names. Well, there's generally speaking two types of magical names people talk about. There's what people refer to as the soul name, which is the name that has power over the soul. Those are rarely ever actually found. In fact, I think I know maybe 2 or 3 magicians that actually, I would say, have a chance of truly knowing that soul name. Then there's the magical name one gives themselves. And that's about building a magical persona, which it has power. those names do have power, and they do help you enter into that magical mindset and get into that ritual state, which helps your mind, your conscious and your subconscious link up to really get into that state where you can do magic at your best. So they can have power. Now, some entities will actually call you by a name. Entities have been known to give names to people, and that name will actually have a connection that builds and empowers you and your relationship with the entity. Much like dragons will give different names to different people, same dragon, different name, because it's building a personal connection. So those magical names do have some power, and considerable. Does that help answer your question, Annie? I will say they're not required, and they're not a must or a definite. Okay, that's a lot of questions popping up. Oh, good ones too. What's the most powerful type of spirit or entity I've come across? Honestly, I see, yeah, dragons. That's really hard because once you start working with them, like I have, and you take away dogma, you will find out that you could almost draw a straight line across them because they all excel in different areas in different ways. Like there's demons and angels I could use to achieve the same goal, and they're going to achieve the same goal perfectly, but they're going to have their strong suits and how they do so. Angels tend to be more gentle, take their time, ease you through it, where demons, they, again, comfort, we don't care, we're going to get the goal done. But power-wise, they're technically on the same level. And deities are kind of the same thing. I've not really found one deity that I would put their power level above the others. And I have said dragons fall into that neutral category so much. I do know dragons do not recognize the term deity. If you approach them and ask them about a deity, they're going to look at you like a monkey doing a math problem. They do not view Odin, Zeus, Ra, any of these entities as gods. They view them as entities, which is actually where I got my viewpoint from originally. So it is easy to see why a lot of people, or some people, do say dragons are the stronger. At this point in time, I'm going to have to say they're on the same level just because I can't find anything that can say they're definitely stronger. Also, they work peacefully with them, so it's so yeah, when it comes to a power level kind of thing, it's the best you can actually get into is personal experience. Otherwise, you just end up in a metaphysical pissing contest, and that's no fun. But I will say I've never seen dragons fall short in anything. Well, dragons do believe in ascension. In fact, one of their goals is to better us. So ultimately, dragons would like to see us ascend to a more spiritual power level. Oh, God, that sounds corny to say it like that. But they would actually like to see us ascend and shed our limitations. But they also expect us to do the work and to earn it because they don't think power should just be thrown at somebody and be like, here, boom, you're a god. you have to earn it. You have to do the work. You have to learn. You have to possess the knowledge, the skill. So yeah, they're totally down for the ascension thing. And in many ways, part of the balance and building people up, it's all about it. Jacob, dreams are tricky. Dreams are actually subjective because the symbolism that appears in a dream has to be interpreted through the meaning of the person it was presented to. I know there's a lot of books out there who like to say that this symbol means this symbol means this symbol means this. What they fail to say in most books, not all, is that these are general meanings. And by general, it means it could mean this, but you do still have to examine it from your point of view, because different symbolisms in dreams will have a different effect on different people and different personalities. So dream interpretation is really, really hard. I would have to recommend if you do divinations, do some divinations for yourself. Try and glean some more insight on it. Or if you know somebody who does divination, speak with them. With just that symbolism, I don't want to take a guess and steer you wrong. I'd rather just give you the facts on dreams and then steer you wrong. Oh, yeah, you can totally give yourself the name, David. You can totally do that. Because if the name is more comfortable for you than anything else, you're more than welcome to take that name onto yourself, whether you keep it private or even start using it in your daily life. You can totally do that. Nothing wrong with it. I know some people will disagree with me, but in all my testing, no issues. You can totally do that. Hold on one second. There's something going on. I'll be right back. I am sorry about that, people. I try not to disappear on you. That was weird. Somebody banging on the door, screaming and hollering downstairs. I hope y'all didn't hear that mess. They were looking for Jenny. I'm the only one here. Do I look like a Jenny? They were somewhat embarrassed. I even told them, I was like, yeah, I'm actually live streaming, so there's a chance they hear you screaming. I'm going to have to wind this back and see if that came through the camera. I really am. Take it easy, Dave. Okay, I'm back. So where was it? That's actually a good question, D. No, the dragons would protect you. See, Dragons work on a basis of respect. And it's kind of funny because they understand that there are magicians out there who will call entities and set them forth to a task. And if that entity comes up to them, they will protect you. That's their job. Their job's protecting. This entity is doing whatever it's doing, and they're going to protect you, plain and simple. And neither entity actually takes it personally. It's like you got a job to do. Anybody remember the old cartoons with the coyote trying to kidnap the chickens and the dog protecting the chickens, and they're clocking in at the beginning of the day as friends, clocking out at the end of the day as friends. But during the day, there's that whole antics and fighting going on. It really reminds me of that. So, in order for an entity to get past a dragon, it has to find a loophole in the defenses, or it has to find a weakness in the magician directly. Now, dragons do have age categories, so that comes into play. But more often than not, dragons keep 90% of anything out. So entities would actually, in order to get past a dragon, they usually have to set a series of events in action and try to get the whole series of events past the dragon. Because if they just come in head first, it won't come through. You got to outsmart them. That's it. That's it. San and Ralph. That's the one. Thank you. Here I am using cartoons to explain metaphysics. And my mom told me I wasted my Saturday mornings. And the same goes for angels. If someone was to use an angel to try and come at you, the same situation would play out. Well, that's a pretty deep question, D. That is a pretty deep question because there's actually a few sides to that. First off, dragons tend to have an ability to get a read on you and know you inside out very quickly. I mean, it's like they know you and your stupidity and your strengths and your weaknesses and your smarts almost the second they meet you. But then could be said to be true of other entities as well, demons included. So there is that. But there's also the fact that if you have a good working relationship with an entity, those entities are less likely to do anything to harm you. So, for example, if I have a long-standing relationship with a god or a demon or an angel, and you go to that entity to get work done, your work is going to probably be less successful if it's successful at all, because those entities really aren't going to betray their actual allies and friends. That's why it's actually pretty hard to use demons against someone who practices demonology. It's not about skill and power. It's just the demons are like, but that's our friend. We're not going to pick on him. The only caveat I know to this is if either A, you've done something to screw that relationship up and that friendship up and they're mad at you, which, okay, that's reasonable. You pissed them off. You did something. That's on you. Or you've done something and this person is seeking something that universally would actually count as justice, and making something right. Those are the only times. Research is usually the best place to start. I did a video on how to find and contact deities or entities. Check that video out. I go into a lot of info, but it really does start with research because you need to understand what entity you're looking for. What are you looking for in the entity? What's your goals? Then you need to research the specific entity you've settled on. Does it have likes, dislikes, symbolisms, personality traits that it might have? You need to see if there's an existing sigil. If there's not, you need to craft one. And then there's the whole just reaching out through meditation, prayer, and building it up, connecting with the energy, and then moving into perhaps an evocation practice with the entity. But I go over it pretty well in how to connect with an entity, and then I did a follow-up video on how to summon a deity. What do you mean tricked? Generally speaking, dragons are very, very hard to trick directly. And if you're not, it's like trick to get past the protections. Like, no, I'm a friend. You can let me pass. That's not going to happen. They can see through entities the same way they can see through us. That's why lying to a dragon is a very, very bad thing. Generally speaking, lying to entities is a bad thing. And shape-shifting don't even work because a dragon will see the true form of whatever it looks at. And I suspect there's plenty of other entities that can do that, but I know for sure dragons can. Oh, yeah, you can definitely reach out to Hecate. One great symbol for helping connect with her is referred to as Hecate's will. You can Google it, and the image will pop up. You can either trace it out or print it out and do some research. She's a really great entity to work with. She does fall to what most people refer to as darker entities. I just find her as a no-nonsense kind of entity. She's very much a self-sufficiency forward entity. She wants you to empower yourself to do for yourself. Hey, Dustin, welcome. Better late than never. But no, definitely do some research on her. We actually did a magical coffee hour episode on Hecate. It's already uploaded to the YouTube channel, so you can watch that, where Linda was asking me plenty of questions about Hecate. So you can pick up some extra info there, too, if you want. Good point, Mortimer. Nothing good will come from lying to an entity. It's very, very bad. It doesn't. No problem. And feel free to email me if you have further questions after you watch the video and do some research. I'll try and help you out where I can. But the how to find and contact a deity, how to summon a deity videos, those two, with the Hecate video from the Magical Coffee Hour should jumpstart you real good. Oh, also check out the Triple Goddess video because she is viewed as one of the triple goddesses. So that will also help you. I just remembered that one's up there too. It's been a while since I made that video, so I tend to forget about it. Y'all are giving me some great questions tonight. And Dustin, 10,000 volts scares me. I get electrocuted a lot. Yes, she's also a crossroads goddess. Yes. I could totally see her doing that, Mortimer. I could totally see that. Now, Dustin, you got me wondering if you're one of my friends that got me shocked. Hub, if that's you, I'm going to whoop your ass over that tractor battery. I promise. That ass whooping's still coming. Yeah, it can't be him. I'm not sure he knows how to operate YouTube. All right. Oh, I was going to ask you all what classes other than Dragon Magic that you might want to see on the online school next. Again, future maybe. Okay. I believe it with me too, honestly. As much as I interfere with electronics, I have to believe it has something to do with how many times I've been shot. Trance work. I'll have to check the meditation course, Peachy. I may have put that in with that. I'll have to double check it. Mortimer, that's the infinite question right there. Does it have to do with being a magician or just being stupid? But I have considered actually doing. Yeah, let me review it because I'm trying to figure out if there would be a reason to do just a trance work course. And I need to go back and look at the meditation course and check that out. which, as you all know, that was a course that we crammed everything into one massive course, which we learned our lesson. We're doing the smaller courses now. But I cannot remember if it covers trance work well enough. So I'll have to check that out. But you're right. Trance work would be a great information and good resource. I just hate to basically put the same information that's elsewhere that's already there. So we'll try that out. Astral, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, journey work and astral travel. That is a good one. That would be a good one. I mean, evocation's already high on the list. There's so many people who have written me about evocation work. So, astral travel. That one, I wonder if I could actually make that a fun course, or if there's just no way to do it. It's just going to be boring. Because there's no way. I mean, when you're teaching astral travel, there's just so much sitting, and it's kind of like meditation. I'm not sure you can really liven it up, but at the same time, it's such a powerful skill. I may just have to set aside the fact that, you know, you can't make it entertaining. Just teach them. Oh, Dustin, I just realized who you are. Oh my God, I feel stupid. See, this is what happens when my neighbors beat down my door and they're trying to look for somebody who I don't even know who they are. They got me all thrown off now. Dustin, I am so sorry, man. I just realized who you are. What is wrong with my camera? Okay, I don't know if y'all seeing what I'm seeing, but my screen just went like yellow. Okay, that's weird. Dragons must be screwing with me. Okay. Not 100%, my man. I don't. I actually am kind of curious about that myself, and I've considered going to the 9 rulers and asking them to see if one of them done it or they know the one that did it. Well, Peachy, you're right. That is one way that will definitely get people's attention. That will definitely, they'll come running at that for sure. Yeah, Dustin, I will. I'll look into that for you. But see, all 9 of those rulers can act independently, and they have no trouble doing so. But then again, they can act as a group, and any dragon under them can also act to see to someone's safety if that person serves a purpose. And with your work where you're wanting to start a male coven, I think was the ideal. There's a disbalance right now in magic between the feminine and the masculine. So you would actually be adding to rebalance. So I'll just have to look into it. I don't want to throw a name out there and steer you wrong. Well, the first class should launch mid-April. That we're on schedule. We are thankfully on schedule. Matt, that's actually a good question. In fact, for years, I didn't actually think there was a difference. I just kind of chalked it up to two different words for the same thing. However, the dragons did teach me there is a difference. So, astral travel is you are traveling to the astral plane. Now, from the astral plane, you can connect to other planes, but that connection isn't you truly being fully in that plane. There's always going to be kind of a sensory deprivation. Everything's going to be foggy. It's going to be distorted. You won't be able to experience the plane fully because it's almost like you're always behind a window or a veil of some kind. So even though you can travel to those planes and work with them, they're very muted and dulled down from what you can do. And that's because everything you're doing is from that astral side. Now, soul travel literally will shift you fully over to that plane so you can experience it in its entirety. And it gets crazy because once you figure out soul travel, you can interact with these planes at a level that it's really difficult to tell the difference between that plane and the physical plane. When you reach out to grab something, you can feel it tangibly. Its weight and everything. It is wild. It's creepy, but it's awesome. And that's one of the reasons once I finally did figure out the difference and I took the time to learn soul travel, I got addicted. I probably spent 4 months soul traveling to different places and trying things out just because I ain't never seen no shit like that. That was cool. But that would be the primary difference between it. Now, there are people who say soul travel can take you farther than astral travel because astral travel, the astral plane only intersects with certain planes, whereas planes that don't intersect with soul travel or the planes that don't intersect with the astral plane, you can still reach via soul travel. There are people who say it is possible. Yes. It is possible for, like, let's say when you're dreaming or asleep, that jaunt that some people might consider astral travel in your sleep, it is strong enough that it's not astral travel. It's actually soul travel. It just really depends on the sleep quality, how deep you are, where your subconscious is at, those kinds of things. But if the conditions are right, yes, it's totally doable. I hope that answers your question, Mathis, because there are little subtleties there. Well, Dustin, I definitely wish you the best of luck on that project. That sounds really awesome. Keep me posted on it. And the first class is coming out in April. So to complete that class, roughly a 2-month class. And by the time that 2 months is up, I'm wanting to have the 102 available as well. So I'm going to keep the classes coming out as constant as I can for you all. But of course, we're also creeping up on the holidays because summer's almost here, and we all know how that second half of the year goes crazy. So I'm wanting to at least, my goal, and let's see if we can get me there, is to at least have the 103 class out before the end of the year. That's my goal. What do you mean? Can you bring something? You mean like physically? Can you pull it from another plane to physically exist in this plane? I've never seen it done. Now, there are you can bring something energetically and house it into something else. But I've never seen you actually like pull it from physically from one plane to the other. That I've never seen. I tell you, once you learn to soul travel on command, it's an addictive practice, and it is wild. That's usually when I'm working with deities, and like when I did my Norse pathworking, where I actually tried to journey through and walk the 9 realms of the Norse. I was using soul travel to do it. Yeah, Peachy, it sounds like you may have been on that borderline, definitely, if not fully on over into the soul travel. That happens. It's not uncommon for when soul travel or something that does happen uncontrolled, that waking up and snapping back to your body, it's not harmful, but it is disorientating, so that now the waking world feels like the dream. So yeah, that sounds like you were doing a little soul traveling of your own, not controlled, but soul traveling. Magic can actually, yeah, it can do that. Hey, Housewife, welcome to the stream. Yeah, because what happens in magic, you do move so much energy through you, Mortimer, that if you don't ground it out and balance, you're essentially hyper. And your body has energy, and your body doesn't want to sleep if it has energy. And the focus of the magic, usually, unless it's a ritual that really is mentally taxing, then your mind is also pretty focused as well. So yeah, your body, it doesn't recognize that it needs to sleep because all the triggers of being awake are there. So yeah, it's a lot of magical practitioners tend to have insomnia and end up with sleep deprivation. The way I handled it for years is I'd just get up and go work. Not a healthy way to handle it, probably, but that's what I did. My doctor hated me. I tried to actually get help, and he's like, "Don't worry, you can't die from sleep deprivation." And I saw the movie. I saw Fight Club. I told him, I was like, "Did you see the movie? Do you see how that all ended up? I don't want that." He didn't find it as funny as I did, though. Yeah, Mathis, it sounds like you definitely slipped into that soul travel state unaware. Because if you're feeling the wind and the turns and literally because if you're feeling a turn, what you're feeling is the G forces and the gravity on that plane. That's actually what you're feeling. So if you're able to feel those sensations that deeply, then you're either very, very, very close to soul travel, or you done crossed over. You're in it. So yeah. So yeah, experiences like that are really cool. Yeah, yeah. If you're not, that's especially if you're not practicing and not casting and not utilizing the energy. When you start practicing magic, your body starts naturally building itself up. Your energy body's growing, and you're housing more energy. So if you're not utilizing that energy, your body actually is running as if it has more energy. So you will have more trouble sleeping. That's the universe doesn't want anything to be stagnant, including magicians. It's kind of the old ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If you don't take it out, it's going to rust. Only in a magician's case, it don't rust. You can't sleep. You get insomnia. You stir crazy. I guess you could see that as mental rust. Absolutely great questions, people. Now, I really do want to do a journey work and soul travel class because the dragons talk about the arcane pillars, which what they consider the arcane pillars, which, mind you, those pillars are built on a foundation of meditation and trance, but they consider them divinations, evocation and invocation, and journey work. And the ideal is if a magician can master using or at least gain a good solid functioning use of these three things, that magician can go as far as they want and as far as they're wanting to push themselves. So with that in mind, I am really wanting to try and dive into these arcane pillars more and teach them. I mean, I do teach them one-on-one, but I'm wanting to get them on the actual school as well. It's just trying to get them around to figuring out filming them and how to make them functional. Jacob, no, soul traveling is much harder. Because astral travel you can do real easy through visualization and trance. Soul travel, you actually have to disconnect from your physical body. And that's the reason it gets much harder and it takes a lot more focus. But once you get the hang of it, it does feel pretty freaking easy once you get the hang of it. But no, I'd say progression-wise, it's astral travel, soul travel. It happens to us all, Mortimer, man. It happens to us all. Heck, even at some of my highest energy work areas where, I mean, I was doing rituals daily, I was still having insomnia. And so it happens. Dustin, cheers to you, man. I appreciate you supporting the vets and the homeless, man. I appreciate that. Me and the wife are a military family, so that's really close to home for us. So thank you for that. One trick, Mortimer, when you're having trouble sleeping that I found, go to bed, lay down, do some deep breathing meditation, and check out my Astral Sanctum video. Build your Astral Sanctum and go there and just start doing things. Start relaxing in your Astral Sanctum. The reason this is neat is because your body will drop into a rested state and get very close to sleep. So even if you don't fall asleep, your body is already, it's getting some of that rest and rejuvenation like feature. But since you're already so deep and you're laying down in your bed and everything's set up for you to go to sleep and you're not in your actual ritual area, your brain is very likely to just slip straight on over into sleep. That's why it's not good to meditate lying down, because you're programmed to go to sleep. But in your case, that's a perfect time to do it, because you'll trick yourself into falling asleep. So that's usually what I end up doing, Mortimer, when I'm having trouble anyways. So give that a try. Hopefully it'll help, because people were always telling me, take the Bavarian root, take this, take melatonin. None of it worked. So, no, I struggled with insomnia for years. So. All right, let's see. Good night, Peachy. Actually, I was going to have to wrap up. I was going to ask anybody if you have any final questions I can answer before we get going. I always like to get any last minute ones in there before we go. Yeah, Hellsweep. There's actually a playlist on the channel called Research and Ramblings of a Mage, where I make sure these are available for rewatch, because you guys ask a lot of questions that are really great questions, and there's actually a lot of great info in these. And I know not everybody can make it every week, and you guys do so much to support me. I make sure these are available. I mean, downside is you can't get the one-on-one communication by just watching the replays. But if there's one that you missed that you want to catch, yeah, check them out. I understand that, Hellsweep, but trust me, there's no such thing as a stupid question here. Even if you have just inklings of something, if you want to ask it, feel free. I'm happy to do my best to answer and help where I can. And if you just like to lurk until you get a question, love to have you all the same. I'm glad you was able to make it this week. The basis of my dragon rituals, Jacob, is built around the Dragon's Flame ritual. That ritual's broke up into a lower and it's broke up into a base and the full version of it. So one version deals with only 4 rulers, the other deals with all the rulers. So depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing something that strictly focuses here on the physical, I might just use the basic one with the 4 rulers. But I'd say more often than not, I use the full ritual, where it calls in all 9 rulers. It has them charge, protect, cleanse the area with 3rd flame. So that's 9 draconic elements being poured into the area. And that sets up my ritual space. And then I just continue to do my normal workings from there, whether it's evocation, invocation, any spell work I'm doing. I go on from there. And the simplest version of the Dragon's Flame ritual is on the YouTube channel. Just go over there. It should be in the Dragon Magic playlist. Or you can just type Dragon's Flame ritual. Should pop right up. But the second you finish that ritual, you'll notice, well, as you're going through the ritual even, you're going to notice the energy ramping up. And once you finish it, it's going to spike big time. Oh, you're welcome, Hellsweep. Honestly, you can thank the Linda for this, really, because she got me doing the live podcast on Sundays on Twitch, the Magical Coffee Hour. I'm terrified of cameras, and the videos look good due to editing. So I never actually thought I could pull this off. And the podcast, Linda was a buffer. If you watch some of the first Magical Coffee Hours, you can see Linda's definitely a buffer there. But once I got the hang of it, yeah, I've actually enjoyed this. I took a chance, and I didn't even know if my viewers would be interested, so I just threw it out there. Hey, we're going to try this. And I've loved it, and from what I can tell, you all have loved it. So I think it worked out on both sides. I have as much fun as you all do. And I really love getting your all's feedback on this, what we've got going on and stuff. It really helps me steer the channel and keep it going. Because one of the hardest things starting this channel was I had to just kind of guess what videos might be wanted. But I also like being able to share my research and the success and the failures. That's one thing I think isn't shared enough. Everybody thinks, oh, well, you've been doing magic. You know what you're doing. You just pile up success after success after success. No, I don't. I have a great success rate with rituals and spells that I know work, but I still have my stumbling blocks as well. I'm still growing. It's a constant growing thing. And I think it's good that people know that that's a real reality. When you say basic dragon ritual, are you talking about Conway's or mine? Because they both would work pretty well. Take it easy, D. Appreciate it. And if you don't set the area up so that it's limited to your ritual space, it will use your house as the border. So yeah, it's going to do that. And Conway's is definitely built after the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram. I mean, if you take her basic dragon ritual and lay it beside that, you're going to see the center section of the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram, is pretty much how she built her ritual. But yeah, so it's going to have a drastic impact on the energy in the house. It's going to cleanse it out and everything. Now, if you're talking about mine, same general ideal. It's not built on the pentagram ritual, but you are calling in that draconic energy specifically. I mean, it says in the ritual to cleanse, protect, and empower. So again, you're doing that, and if your visualization's not setting the limitations up to the room you're working, it'll use the first border it runs into, which will be the house itself. Yep. Okay. So, see, I think Conway's is actually called Basic Dragon Ritual. That's what threw me off. But yeah, both of them will definitely change, and I know the one I gave will. I get emails all the time because it's the videos like this ritual's so simple, and yet people's emailing me like complimenting how much power it raises, how quickly, even though it's so simple. And that's one of the beauties of dragon magic. Dragons don't get overly complicated. They're more about results. So, yeah. just if you don't want the whole house's energy changing, I mean, I don't mind it personally. But if you don't, just focus everything into the room you're working on. But yeah, when you do a ritual like that in your house and you go outside, you're going to feel a definite difference in the energy. Unless you're just one of those people who can't feel energy well at all, you might not. Those people do exist. So it sounds like you got a good result, though. So, yeah. You can also use like a physical circle for the ritual. That'll also help create a barrier. Yeah. You can also use like a physical circle for the ritual. That'll also help create a barrier. Oh yeah, it will definitely feel lighter. When all nine, well that one, yeah, when those four elements come together like that, it feels a lot lighter. I will say, starting out, don't do that ritual with all 9 guardian or all 9 rulers, because once you get past the first, I'd say, yeah, let's say 5, maybe 6 rulers, the energy shifts and can get wonky real quick if you're not sure what you're doing. So, because I have had people ask me about posting the more advanced rituals and why I haven't. That's why. Until I get a bit more information on dragon magic up on the channel, or until a few of the classes are actually published, I don't want to post a ritual that could potentially cause an issue. Because I know one student in one of my classes, she asked me some questions about some of the other rulers, which I answered. And against my advice, she went and she contacted the ruler of the Maelstrom Dragons to work directly with them. And mind you, she hadn't actually completed the Dragon Magic 101. So that's like, what, 4 or 5 rulers skip? And she had no idea how to balance or anchor that energy. The next 2 years of her life were complete and absolute shit show chaos. Because anything that was causing a blockage or an obstruction in her life that wasn't allowing energy to move, or that she was refusing to change, she personally was refusing to change, that energy came in, just started kicking down doors and taking sledgehammers to anything and everything in order to get things moving, because she called it in and she had no clue what she was doing. So she got what she asked for, but she approached it with the magic is safe, nothing can go wrong. And there's a reason I tell people to avoid those higher up rulers starting out, because if you don't know how to balance it, anchor it, and use the energy correctly, it can go pear-shaped so fast. But the first 4 rulers, they are chill. They are very, very chill. Much easier to work with, much easier to start with. Well, that's their entire job. They're supposed to be I guess you might call them initiators. They kind of get you into dragon magic, get you to working with those primal energies. Because, I mean, y'all have probably noticed like the earth energy from a dragon is far more intense and primal than just the earth element. And then from there, they just build you up. And not only are they readying you to work with those other rulers, but the process of getting there means not only do you have a knowledge and understanding and a skill set, but you've actually done a lot of work on yourself by that point, that the other rulers, they're not as hard to work with at that point. Outside just the Dragon's Flame ritual, not at this time. I do not. That is something we're actually considering doing, is trying to do a video on each of the first 4 rulers to go more in depth with them. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it, because there's so much information I would like to do, and the YouTube videos, you know, you kind of got to condense those down. I mean, obviously we're covering them in the class, but I can't use that as an excuse for everything. And I do want to get more information. So I am wanting to do a video with them. I may just have to make it shorter and simpler, kind of like I did the Torgra video, where I introduced Torgra, told what he can help with, and gave his sigil. So I may do a simplified version of what I'm thinking in that format with each of the rulers. In fact, we got a project going with the rulers, and I may try to overlap that project with those videos. That would actually work really, really well. Jacob, I think you just helped me solve my problem. I think I know how to do those videos now. Yep. Okay, so that, yeah, I will work on getting those videos out. See, this is why the live streams rule. You guys will ask a question, I think it's something from an angle I hadn't before, and then boom, just floodgates open, and we're rocking and rolling. Jacob here just solved the 4 video problem. That is, thank you, Jacob. Oh, I'm going to have to start scripting that video now. I'm excited. I am excited. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. And, well, I actually got some more video shooting to do now that the jets have stopped. So we're going to film a bit more on the Dragon Magic 101 course so we can have it up in mid-April. For those who weren't here when we showed them, the Dragon's Eye seal stickers are in the merch shop now. You can get those. So if you're like me and you can't draw, but you wanted to add one to your journal or grimoire, or just stick it on a calendar or something, you can do that. Those are there. And the canvases are still on the store too. Everyone who's got one has emailed me and said they love them. So go check those out. And if you're interested in coffee cups, we got those too. And like I said, all that goes, all the money's going straight back to the channel to help us out and continue to improve it. Because right now, everything's just coming out of my pocket. And I will try to work on the Patreon for y'all. This is the second week in a row you guys mentioned it. So I'll work on that. In the meantime, y'all have a wonderful week. We do have a video coming Tuesday where we talk about tools and techniques of dragon magic. We cover that a little bit. We've got some questions on that we've tried to answer. And we do have the magical coffee hour coming Sunday, and I have no idea what Linda's going to throw at me. So she is feeling better. For those who saw her under the weather last week, she is feeling much better. So with that, I'll say goodnight to y'all. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you here next Friday, and I'll see you on Tuesday when the video is not a live video. It's just being published, but I'll be back here next Friday at 7 as well. And if you haven't already, the Facebook group, join it. Feel free to hop in there, say hello, and ask me any questions there as well. With that, y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next week.